Welcome to the ANEW Insight podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back to the ANEW Insight podcast. We are back for the second half of this amazing interview with addiction recovery specialist Lance Wright, and he's also my new friend. Lance gave us some heart-wrenching insight into his path from addiction to recovery. I have got to learn more, and we are going to start with forgiveness. Why has forgiveness been so powerful in your healing?
Well, as we ended that last segment, it was in my heart to speak on that, because it's one thing to forgive others or even others to forgive you. But there's a place in this process that's probably one of the more important ones, and one that we carry in a place of amends, is that forgiveness is not a noun, it's an action. My forgiveness is something I live every day in honor by how I live my life and honor those people I've hurt. In the life I live today, I can hold my head high. I can live in integrity. I can believe in myself. I can honor myself and love myself because I honor and live in accordance to that and to my past. And for me, that's really at the essence of self-forgiveness. When you are doing, like when I sit with clients in treatment, and like I was this afternoon, and one of the young ladies, I threw some heavy, hard balls at them, and they were like, and I said, you listen well and you struggle with forgiving yourself because you don't think you're a good mom. And she's like, and I said, the fact that you're here and you've said you want to be a good mom tells me everything about the lady of grace and dignity that you truly are, and that I hope you learn and see here. And she just kind of like,
wow.
Because really, at the end of the day, a path out of the darkness is light and love and connection. And so that, for me, forgiveness is a big part of what I live and what I teach. It may not be spoken a lot, but it's in the ether, and it's the mortar or the integrity of the wall that we build in recovery or in life.
Yes.
Because not everybody's a drug addict or alcoholic. Sometimes I'll meet with people that struggle with, I'm not good enough, or I'm a failure. Those are narratives that people are attached to in destructive and addictive ways, just as much as alcohol or drugs. So,
yes. Well, give me a picture of, you got committed to getting clean. What were the small steps that you took to where you are today? Give us a picture in as truncated amount of time as possible, so I can get all the other answers to my questions in there. How you got from incarceration to life over addiction. Tell me about that pathway.
well, let's just real briefly, the 18 years of sobriety I had from when I got sober, March 11th of 93, to coming home and working with Richard and the guys that I work with and grew up with, really. That's where it began. That's where I learned to do the craft that I do, and to listen and to see the importance of vulnerability in men's lives, because we were helping men in there prepare them to come home and stay home and not commit crimes or violate their communities, because that was also part of our amends. If I helped you go home and you didn't hurt somebody, that's a work that God used me for, and that's what I should be doing. So, but coming home was very daunting, to say the least. I had a lot of recovery. I had grown up a lot. I knew how to ask. One of the biggest things recovery taught me is, how do you do that? Can you help me? Because I didn't know how to get sober. I didn't know how to do a lot of things, but I learned how to ask. So in 2011, in June, I had gotten a 3-0 decision by the first appellate court ordering my immediate release, and it was upheld. And I learned on a Wednesday that I was going home on a Saturday, because the state had to let me go in 72 hours. And I was 27 years in on that life sentence. So I really didn't have any adjustment time. It was like, go. And so
wow.
I walked out around the end of June of 2011 with a rubber tub with all my life possessions. But in here and in here, I had faults of recovery and wisdom from my own journey of growth and growing up and helping others. So I had a foundation of what I was to become and be here today. But I didn't know, just like I don't think God wants us to know tomorrow sometimes. He wants us to be in the today and growing. And I went to a place called Beit Teshuva in Culver City because I knew Rabbi Mark Borovitz. He was a good friend and a supporter of the work we do. And he said, just come here, chill out for a minute, get your feet under you. You've been away a while. You'll have support. You know, you really just, it's not a program for you. It's a place to live and grow and like reintegrate. And so about a month in, I started working for him. No, I got a job working at a kitchen because I had to make money. I didn't like to ask people. I had too much pride. That's my ego. And then he gave me a job and I was working on his maintenance crew. And somebody said, you should go to school and be a counselor. And I'm like, because I always help people. It's just my spirit now. And so I go sign up get my credential for a counselor, and I'm going to school. And he calls me in his office one day, or I think it was like a Friday. And he says, what are you doing for me right now? And I go, well, I'm on your maintenance crew, Rab. What's up? And he goes, you going to school to be a counselor? I go, well, of course, that's what, you know that. And he goes, you're not on my maintenance crew. Monday, you're going to be a counselor. I'm giving you $2 more an hour. And now you'll have like 10 clients. Get out of my office.
Yay!
I'm a counselor now. And for 4 years, I was a counselor there. And I, not to toot my own horn, but because of how I approach things and how I work with clients, I see it as more than drugs and alcohol. And I was able to be very effective in helping people in those 4 years and met a lot of people and helped a lot of people. And about 4 years in, I got an opportunity to go work somewhere. And it was more money, and my ego, hey, who doesn't want more money? You know what I mean? And they want to make me a program coordinator. Oh, wow, a title and all this. And so off I went and ended up being a body brokering kind of shady treatment center, because not all treatment centers are good. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of some people in your industry that are probably shady.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm there. And one day they tell me they're not going to give me a pay raise they promised me. And I gave my resignation to them. And I didn't have a parachute, a job, nothing, but I just wasn't going to do that. And so I called a friend and she goes, will you do process groups? I go, anybody can do process groups. She goes, no, not like you. You know too much. And I go, well, yeah. And she goes, well, I can give you come do some process groups. I'm an IOP director out here in Malibu. And I'm like, okay, what do you pay? And she goes, $100 a group. I go, well, how many groups can I do? I give you 2 or 3 groups a day. Well, when can I start? I mean, that's like a lot more money than I've ever made.
Right.
And so I'm working at Cliffside, Malibu, been one of the best places I've ever worked, among some of the most professional people I've ever worked. It was a really, like, when you show up to work and you feel you should put a suit and tie on, it's kind of that kind of level.
Yeah.
Arrived there. I loved it, helping the clients. Usually when you went there, if you're paying that kind of money, you're not spending it just to go to a flop house. You want to figure out your problems. And I was there 8.5 years. And while I was there, somebody said I was starting to coach people and mentor people and do that kind of work. The addiction recovery specialist work that I do. Everything from pre-interventions to aftercare, learning it, learning how I do it, how I like to do it, and what works. And so one day, the owner, he pulls me over and he called me. I was on vacation. He goes, you can't be an independent contractor. I have to hire you. Or what do you do? And I told him, he goes, well, you're not staffed because you're way advanced for that. I want you to go get an LLC. And when you get the EIN number, you call Karen and tell her what it is. And we're going to put you in as, and I'm like, okay. So that's where life after addiction, where I got my LLC.
Right.
I've been building that on my pattern of doing things. But
okay.
Yes.
Wait. So I want to know your pattern of doing things. I want to know because I think people have an idea of addiction treatment, and I think yours is much different. Give me how yours is different.
Well, when I sit with somebody, I'm not as concerned with your drug or your alcohol problem. We'll deal with that. It's not as severe as the other problems that are underneath the surface. I want to get to know you. What's your story? What's going on in there that makes you tick to do what you do? What's your programming? What's your code that you're operating from? Because what you're doing is not normal. And it's not congruent with a normal human being or what we do. How did this happen? Where did this come from? I'll give you an example. Today, working with people at the treatment center, they love me to push them. And I says, okay. I did to them what I did at the end of the TEDx. I says, I want each one of you to go look at 3 of your negative codes or programming. Write them down, leave space. I want you to go back over your life and look at where that comes from, where it was created, how it's affected your life in a negative way. Just do that today. Because when they start to see where it comes from and how it's impacting their life, my next conversation is, what do you want to do about it? If you feel that you're insecure, that nobody sees you, you're different, you can't show emotions, let's just say that. Well, guess what? Every group, you need to show up and talk for 2 to 5 minutes from a vulnerable place. Oh my God, I'm going to die. You have to go out of your way to be more present. You can't isolate. You have to look and see your value, that you're not the sum of your actions, although you're accountable for them. You're you, and you can build a new path, a new language, a new coding. That for me is the essence of recovery. Changing the things that I ran away from, so I'm not running away, because that's what people do drugs and alcohol most of the time for. Or they turn to that for, because in and of itself, drug and alcohol abuse is a real thing. The dependency and those kind of things. But underneath it, it's attached to something that I can't let go of and that I don't want to deal with. Right. When I can identify what I'm attached to, heal the wound towards a scar, I don't have to be in chapter 5 of my life or 10 or 15 anymore. I can be present with you today and learn how to live and grow today. So that's kind of behind the scenes.
And you are using the science of neuroplasticity to help people change and grow. So explain for people who don't understand what that is, what neuroplasticity is and how you are using it in your treatment.
Well, neuroplasticity is simply this. We're programmable beings, and our brains and our neural pathways and how we see things are malleable. They can shift, they can change. I think everybody watching this has had something in their life that they've attached to or believed that they realize today isn't true, and they're not attached to it anymore. That's neuroplasticity. It's like I create a new pathway, a new relationship with something. When I grew up, I was abandoned, unloved, blah, blah, blah. I say it that way now. But then it was very real. You could not have convinced me otherwise. But like the day I sat with Richard, and I tried to make this quick, and we were talking about my father, who I never knew, which was a big, big, bad thing in my soul. And when I was sharing with this list of things about my dad with Richard, I got vehemently hot because all the anger, all the rage, that little boy and the narratives and the programming showed up. And he's listening to me. And after I was done venting, he goes, "Can I ask you a couple questions?" Well, sure, that's strange, but okay. Do you know why your father and mother split up? No. Did your mother ever say your father didn't love you? No. Did he ever say he didn't love you? Well, no. And about the 5th or 6th no, that white hot rage, you could almost right now see this raging little story developed as a child, this programming go,
wow.
And I'm like, and he's in that moment, he said, it's perfectly understandable that the little boy would create a story to understand something he couldn't possibly understand. And that was wrong. You should have had somebody there. But what you did with that story and how you've hurt yourself and other people is wrong too. And today we can begin to change that. That's a moment of neurotransformation. That's a moment of neuroplasticity. That's what just happened? Now, of course, I had to practice new things like honesty and vulnerability and things, but there was a clear path out now. There was a moment of healing in that space that I don't think I would have gotten from anybody else or any other space or moment. And I don't forget it because it's that transition. It's that almost like a new neural pathway was being formed from that point forward. if that explains it.
Absolutely. And so, this is something that I do in the work with my clients as well, is that I think, science before was saying, oh, once your brain is, reaches your certain age, like 25, your brain no longer grows brain cells or has new connections, blah, blah, blah. Well, they've completely discounted that old theory because it is absolutely 100% possible to change very old patterns of thought with some deliberate work. And it's not just about making realizations or gaining objectivity, which are the two things that you're really, you've already illuminated that you do. There needs to be practice. Because if you have had that story wired in your brain for so long, it becomes automatic, or the thought. And usually, for a lot of people, and a lot of people I see come into my office, the thought is I'm worthless or I am not lovable. There's really deep, wounded personal thoughts that you think over and over again, usually coming from a troubled childhood. And so how do you help people rewire? What kinds of ways do you help them to practice these new thoughts so that they can assume the person that they really truly are inside?
I'm going to go back to the young lady who I talked to this afternoon about being a good mom. She hasn't heard that in a long time. Nobody's given her any positive verbal affirmation. Nobody's acknowledged the hard work it took for her to leave her baby with her mom and come to treatment.
Mhm.
And how much that speaks to the amazing young lady and mother she really is inside, that she can't see. But I can and you can. And so me bringing that up and putting it on a plate for her to see and remind her of every time I see her, of encouraging her when she feels down or beating herself up, get a coloring book, draw something, write something for her kid. Even if her kid's young, do it anyway. Be the mom that you want to be today moving forward. And if you practice that for 365 days, guess who you will be?
Mm.
That's really neuroplasticity. That's action. That's creating a new neural pathway. And there was a young man, not so young, but he had his son and daughter. And his dad raised him very little communication, very little love. So that's how he was raising his kids, and he felt guilty. And I told him, I want you to go on Amazon. I want you to order little kid cards, little like 500 of them are in a box or something with envelopes. And every day, I want you to write each one of your children a little card about how much you love them and meaningful things to them. Put a stamp on it and send it to them.
Wow.
People thought I was crazy when I made this suggestion to him. I said, how cool would it be if you went home and found a box of letters from your father that said he loved you and he was sorry? And you got to hold that box. How much would that mean to you? And in the process of doing that, you're going to create a channel of love and connection to your kids and to yourself that you don't even know. So see, that's neuroplasticity, but that's action. That's creating
Yes.
belief.
Oh my goodness. That is so inspiring. And that really does give me ideas of further things that I can do in my therapy office as well. And I think for the listeners out there, there's so many ways that you can rewire your thinking in your brain. I am a big proponent of using mantras,
Mm-hmm.
which are, repeating a phrase over and over again. And that's the new thought that I like to help people recondition into, because when you say a mantra, you're saying it over and over again. It becomes meditative. It becomes um, relaxing. It also helps to reset your nervous system and rewire your thinking around this new thought. And I've seen that be really effective. I love the idea of using these actions as well as the way to, like, reinforce who they really are. It's really not changing. It's remembering who they really
It's
are, and
honoring.
then yes, and then passing it forward. Oh, I love this, Lance. Really beautiful work. And I tell you what, I have people that I'm going to refer to you already. um, but let's talk about families. Oof, this is a really tough one. How can families support a loved one in addiction? I've seen so many families struggle with this. And what do you wish every family understood about compassion, boundaries, and trust during recovery?
It's very difficult to deal with a loved one in addiction of any kind, whether it's a thought addiction, a attitude, a behavior, or drugs and alcohol, because they're not themselves. When a person becomes addicted, I guess the brain, for real quick, we have this thing called the amygdala. I know you're aware of it, but most people don't know what that is. Its primary thing is pleasure and survival, among other things, but those are its core. It's the reason as a human species we're still here. It's an evolutionary part of creation that was given to us. And that's not religious, that's just reality and science. Now,
Mhm.
if you put a substance into your body that makes a hamburger seem like minuscule, and that substance changes feelings and emotions and all of that, and becomes a dominant piece of like pleasure and survival a little bit, it overwhelms the system. And when you don't have that, the amygdala takes that as threat, problem. I tell people it's not normal for somebody to walk into a gas station with a gun and say, "Give me your money. I need a shot of heroin."
Mhm.
Something took over the system. Your loved one system has been taken over, and it really isn't authentically who they are. Now,
Mhm.
here we go. What do I do? Well, you're probably not going to be able to do it alone. That's why I
Yes.
do everything from pre-intervention to aftercare, because I think families need as much support as their loved one in understanding what's going on and guidance through that. Um,
Mhm.
they need to understand that an intervention isn't about judgment and resentment, although they're probably pissed off and angry. It's about
Mhm.
an invitation to healing and restoration. And that's typically that empathetic, loving way of doing things will guide a person to say yes, rather than if I came in and was pointing a finger at you, you're probably going to run away. But if I say,
Yes.
Atra, I want you back in the family. We care about you. I remember the time when we were kids, man. I'm here for you and I'll be here for you, but I can't support that. And that's why we're here to support you getting back to who you are because we miss you. How
How do you deal though with repeated uh relapses and transgressions? Like, I think lying, covering up for actions, things like that is very common. So trust gets broken. How
a
do
lo-
you help family members rebuild that trust?
it's a long process and it may never be perfect. I'm not going to say that this is a perfect work and that your loved one or your family member or friend won't violate that space again. I would say having healthy boundaries. You know when your loved one is acting off. You know when something's not congruent. When they're acting up, and you know at that point, if you just want to play it off like, man, maybe it's that because you don't want to confront the issue or bring it up or set a boundary so you let it continue to happen. I would always say if they are stealing or if they're being problematic or aggressive or any of that, there's a firm boundary. You can't be here till you're sober. And,
Mm.
and then if you're an adult, you don't need to be at home with mom and dad. You're an adult. I think you run into it a lot with spouses and loved ones that their partner all of a sudden has fallen into a place and they're embarrassed, they're ashamed, they don't know what to do. That's
Right.
where I come in and help them set the boundaries. Maybe we do an intervention. Because see, an
Yes.
intervention has multiple reasons. It's not just trying to convince the loved one to go to treatment. It's letting a loved one know that everybody around knows.
Yes.
Puts them on the
100%.
exact.
Yes, that's exactly how I help my clients as well. I think it's very important that those boundaries are set, especially if, the loved one, the family member, is feeling trodden upon, is feeling like, I can't maintain this, I can't live like this. Sometimes there has to be some kind of ultimatum.
Yep.
And that person has to make a decision. Do they want to continue this addiction, or do they want to keep the relationship between their loved ones and honor their loved ones' boundaries? So I 100% agree with this. Lance, oh my gosh, I have 80,000 more questions for you, but we are low on time. I would love for you to help people find their way to you, because I really think your method is so effective. You've really turned a troubled life into a life of meaning and purpose and service. And I want as many people as possible to know how to get to you.
Well, I mean, you can go to info@lifeoveraddiction and email me. But what I want to do with you, Supatra, is after this, I'm going to email you a sheet. It has the Calendly link, and it also
Okay.
has the barcode where all you have to do is hold up your phone to the code, and it's a free 30-minute consultation. It's free.
Yes.
I
Wonderful.
charge nothing. We talk about what's going on. I make suggestions. I set a price point, and it all depends on the family. I'm not somebody like, if you can't afford it, I'll work with you to a degree, but it's more about helping people. But right now I'm
Yes.
going to share with you, I'll send it to you, my Calendly link, and you just put your QR code up there, and there you go. You can set it up, and let's start a new conversation about how to help you and your loved ones.
Yes. Oh, Lance, I have people I'm sending to you already, and I know that they will benefit from your help. I just think you are a rare, beautiful, kind human being who, through just being vulnerable and allowing, have transformed a very troubled life that I can completely understand into something that is just so beautiful. So I really hope that everybody takes advantage of his consultation. If you're struggling out there, don't be ashamed. So many people struggle with this, and this is like Lance said, a program that just needs to be rewired in your system.
Yes.
And you can do that. If Lance can do it, you can too.
I'm the example.
He's the example, an amazing example. So thank you so much for joining me, Lance. I just think you're fabulous. I'm so glad to have you in my life.
I'm very grateful for your reminding, Supatra.
Yes. And thank you, everyone, for joining me on the ANEW Insight podcast. I'm really looking forward to my next interview and hope you join me next time.
Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight podcast. Please remember, the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.